Imagine the wind becoming so loud that you can no longer hear the people standing beside you. The trees are bending, branches are snapping, lightning flashes across the sky so brightly that the forest turns white for a single terrifying moment. Then comes the thunder, not a distant rumble, a violent crack that feels as if the earth itself has split open. Your shelter shakes, smoke blows sideways, a tree crashes somewhere in the darkness, and suddenly you realize something horrifying. This is not just bad weather. Nature is trying to destroy everything around you. So what do? 20,000 years ago, there were no houses, no storm warnings, no waterproof tents, no safe place to hide when the sky turned violent. Yet ancient humans survived thunderstorms, powerful winds, lightning strikes, and floods for thousands of generations. How? The answer begins with a mistake many of us make today. We think storms are mostly about rain. For ancient humans, the rain was often the least frightening part. The real terror was the wind. A strong storm can turn an entire forest into a weapon. Dead branches become flying spears. Trees weaken and fall without warning. Loose rocks tumble down slopes. A shelter built from branches and hides can be ripped apart in minutes. Imagine spending days building a place to sleep, only to watch the storm tear it apart before sunrise. Ancient humans learned quickly that where you camped mattered enormously. High ridges caught the strongest winds. Valleys could flood. Open ground offered little protection. Dense forests blocked some wind, but also contained falling trees. Survival often meant choosing the least dangerous place, not a truly safe one. Then there was lightning. To us, lightning is electricity. To ancient humans, it must have seemed supernatural. A blinding flash, an instant explosion of sound, a tree bursting apart, fire appearing from the sky. Without understanding electricity, they still learned one critical lesson. Lightning could kill without warning. Storms likely filled ancient people with a level of fear we can barely imagine today. At night, every flash illuminated the landscape for a heartbeat. Shadows jumped, animals scattered, children cried, adults waited for the next strike. And sometimes the lightning did something unexpected. It started wildfires. A burning tree after a storm was terrifying, but it could also become an opportunity. If a tribe had lost its fire, a naturally burning tree might provide new embers. Nature destroyed, nature provided. Ancient humans had to be ready for both, but even when lightning missed them, the wind kept attacking. Try holding a small flame in a violent storm. The wind tears heat away from it. Smoke fills your eyes. Sparks vanish into the darkness. Keeping a fire alive during powerful storms may have been one of the hardest survival tasks ancient humans faced. A fire was warmth, light, cooked food, protection from predators. Losing it during a storm could change everything. That's why groups likely shielded fires with stones, earth, or deeper shelters whenever possible. Protecting a flame could be as important as protecting a child. And storms rarely arrived alone. They often brought sudden floods. A stream that was easy to cross in the morning could become a raging torrent by nightfall. Ancient camps near water faced a terrible risk. Rivers rise quietly at first. Then suddenly, tents of hide, tools, food, even sleeping people could be swept away. Imagine waking in darkness to cold water rushing through your camp. No flashlight, no bridge, only roaring water and panic. Floods also erased trails. Footprints vanished, hunting paths disappeared, landmarks changed overnight. After a major storm, people sometimes had to relearn the landscape itself. The forest they knew yesterday might not exist today. Storms changed animals too. Birds often disappear before severe weather. Large mammals seek shelter. Predators become harder to track. Hunters could spend hours searching for animals that had already hidden long before the storm arrived. Ancient humans probably watched the behavior of birds and animals closely. Sudden silence in the forest could be a warning. Unusual animal movement might signal approaching weather. Nature announced storms before the clouds fully arrived. The people who noticed those signs had an advantage. And then came the hardest part, waiting. Modern people often underestimate how exhausting storms can be. Constant noise, little sleep, fear of collapsing trees, fear of lightning, fear of flooding, fear that the storm will be even worse tomorrow. Ancient humans could not simply check a forecast and learn that the weather would improve in 2 days. For all they knew, the storm might continue indefinitely. That uncertainty was psychologically brutal. A tribe trapped by storms had to conserve energy, repair shelters, protect children, watch for danger, and remain ready to move at a moment's notice. This is where cooperation became essential. One person alone is vulnerable. A group can watch while others sleep. A group can rebuild a shelter faster. A group can carry children, gather wood, and search for safer ground. Storms punished isolation. They rewarded cooperation. Perhaps the most remarkable thing is that ancient humans survived all of this without controlling the weather at all. They could not stop the wind. They could not silence the thunder. They could not prevent lightning. Instead, they learned a different skill: endurance. They endured noise, cold, fear, darkness, uncertainty, and destruction. Generation after generation, they passed down knowledge about safe shelters, dangerous valleys, seasonal storms, and signs in the sky. That knowledge was never written in books. It lived in memory, in stories, in warnings spoken beside campfires. Eventually, every storm ends. The wind weakens, the thunder moves away, clouds begin to break apart, and sunlight returns. But after weeks of violent storms, the world is changed. Trees lie across the ground, riverbanks collapse, new channels appear, animal trails vanish. Ancient humans often emerged from storms into a landscape that looked almost unfamiliar. Survival did not end when the clouds disappeared. They still had to rebuild, find food again, relight fires, repair tools, and decide whether this place was still safe enough to stay. So, what did ancient humans do when the storms never ended? They searched for shelter that could survive the wind, avoided flood-prone ground, protected their fire as if it were life itself, watched the behavior of animals and birds, moved when the landscape became too dangerous, worked together instead of alone, and endured fear that lasted far longer than the storm itself. They survived not because storms were weak. They survived because humans are astonishingly good at adapting to chaos. The next time a thunderstorm rattles your windows, remember this. For most of human history, there were no walls, no roofs, no emergency alerts, only a small group of people huddled beneath rock, wood, and hide, listening to the sky roar above them, hoping their shelter would still be standing by morning. Because long before modern civilization, our ancestors learned one of nature's harshest lessons. You do not conquer the storm. You survive long enough for it to pass. If you enjoyed this journey into humanity's forgotten past, subscribe for more stories about ancient humans, survival, and the hidden skills that shaped our species. And I'll see you in the next one.